TJ here for another segment of Michigan Conservative Roundtable. Well, this past weekend across the country, we had another round of peaceful BLM protests. I say that sarcastically, of course. The cities that come to mind just this weekend is Pittsburgh and Washington, D.C. Portland's become such a given. It's now easily overlooked. I mean, that chaos hasn't stopped, but then when it spreads to another city and the craziness expands, of course that's going to make news. So just this past weekend, in Pittsburgh and D.C., peaceful protests involving BLM marching down the streets. They were harassing multiple restaurants, to include a McDonald's, where a black manager was confronted by a BLM person, and it just doesn't stop. Some of these restaurants that as they were protesting down the street, some of the restaurants along the streets, they had outside seating, and where their patrons could sit at like sidewalk cafes of sorts. And in Pittsburgh, you had a woman, a BLM protester, walk up to an elderly couple who were sitting on the street, and it looked like they were drinking an adult beverage, we'll say. And the black BLM protester grabbed what might have been their beer and just kind of starts slugging it down. And my first thought was, well, I guess that one's on the house. But when you think of what this person did in regards to grabbing the person's beer and just drinking it, and the Democrats are so concerned over our alleged or supposed disregard of COVID-19 and spreading it, yet they'll give this woman a pass for slugging down a beer or a drink of some sort, and excuse it away. You're calling these peaceful protests, maybe because I didn't hear about anyone getting shot or killed. So that could be the new definition of peaceful protesting, when no one's shot or killed. If no one's shot or killed, then it's a peaceful protest. Princeton University did a study because they wanted to somehow make the case how so many of these protests were peaceful. And they did a study, and the study ran for about 3 months, from late May through late August. And what they found was, and I'm going to put up a map here, but what they found was, in the 3 months that they did their study, there was nearly 570 violent demonstrations, which is a politically correct term for riot, okay? 570 riots in nearly 220 locations across the country. And remember, this is in the 3-month time span that they were doing their study. And if you see on the map, the West Coast, especially Portland, was bad. New England area seemed to be especially hard hit. Chicago, and even here in Detroit, we had some incidents of, we'll say, peaceful protest. I'll confess, I am a little surprised that Detroit hasn't had some of the same incidents similar to, say, Portland, Seattle, Chicago, heck, even Pittsburgh, I'll tell you now. But, I think in some regard, you have to give credit to the Detroit police chief, James Craig. Some years back, he was known for saying that residents of Detroit legally own firearms in Detroit, and he took a little heat for that. So I don't know how he votes, but I'll tell you right now, he's not typical of a large city run by Democrats. That is a little bit of relief, I'll tell you. He was asked once if he was going to follow the Portland or Seattle model. His response was, when you allow protests that cause you to retreat from a police station, when you allow people to take over 6 city blocks, and then they are shooting violent acts, rape, murder, and the police are not allowed to go in and do a proper investigation, oh, that's not the model I'll follow. We're very different here in Detroit. So said Detroit Police Chief James Craig. Detroit Police is currently being sued by some group I've never even heard of before. The name of the group is Detroit Will Breathe. And they brought a lawsuit against Detroit, and actually a federal judge ruled in their favor against the use of chemical agents, batons, and that kind of stuff. So basically, per this federal judge, the Detroit police have to be very nice to these miscreants now. This group is demanding, Detroit Will Breathe. This group is demanding the resignation of Detroit Police Chief James Craig. And they have a Facebook page, and there's a video, and in this video there's an unidentified speaker, and he's saying, we need to effectively fight these MFers, we need to engage, and not in a way that's not about being very respectable. So goes the video. I have to wonder if this group is ever successful. I doubt they would be. But what would happen if they were able to hound James Craig out of position as the chief of police here in Detroit? I've mentioned before that I'm a resident of a northern suburb of Detroit, and right now I'm just not I'm avoiding Detroit. I'm not going very deep into the city, and one time I was talking to a coworker, and we were talking about Detroit and the crime in Detroit. And I asked this coworker, who coincidentally lived in Detroit, I asked him, where would I, as a white male, be safer? Doing a Humvee patrol in Baghdad or walking down Cass Corridor tonight in Detroit? And this person I was speaking with, he's a resident of Detroit, he stopped, he paused, he thought about it, and just as he was getting ready to answer, I interrupted him saying, the fact that you had to stop and think about it answers the question. Think about it. He had to stop and think where I'd be safer. Humvee patrol in Baghdad or walking down the streets of Detroit tonight. Had to stop and think about it. So, you can call it playing safe, but the reality is that the city has no allure for me, so why bother venturing into Detroit? They're not going to miss me, and I'm not going to miss them, and that's just the way it is. This is TJ, signing off, and remember, be safe, watch your 6, and don't tread on me.